on the line. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Kern Fire Safe Council FireWise workshop. And we have CAL FIRE Captain Sean Arnold and FireWise representative on Zoom here. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, everybody.
And we have Air and Wildland Chief Andrew Kennison with Kern County Fire Department. And we have our Kern Fire Mitigation Coordinator, Wendy Ward.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I am going to go over the FireWise program with you guys today. I was invited to discuss this because of the hazards that you guys are facing living in the mountain community of Pine Mountain Club. So as we do this, Mr. Arnold and Mr. Kennison will be here, and at the end we will answer questions. So please try and hold off because I might answer a lot of those questions through my presentation. Okay, so go ahead. You want me to just cue you, George? Yeah. Okay. All right, so the FireWise program is to develop a sense of community and to offer wildland fire education to residents of particular communities. It is about reducing wildfire risks to homeowners and fostering individual responsibility. The idea is to take ownership of your property and your community and work collectively together to make sure that you are prepared for wildfire. It is also to help encourage neighbors. One of the things that we're losing connect with is our neighbors. And the FireWise program is to help everyone develop a sense of community, reestablish with their neighbors, work together to make themselves ready for wildfire. Okay, hold on. All right, so I'm not good at standing in place. So CAL FIRE is the state California liaison, and the application assistant is provided by CAL FIRE and then the Kern Fire Safe Council or myself or a regional coordinator to help you in assisting in the application to an NFPA. The NFPA is the National Fire Protection Association, who is the oversight for the FireWise program. It's really important to understand that FireWise is not a regulatory or a enforcing program. It is here as a supportive program for you guys. So FireWise provides a collaborative framework to help your neighbors in a geographic area get organized. Everybody may have the best of intentions, but if they aren't collectively working together, that they are not going to be successful in making their neighborhood or their homes safe. So, it is to provide structure. So a lot of times, like I said, everybody has the best of intentions, but if everybody's following the same system and working collectively together, then they'll be able to be better prepared and on the same page. So taking action is to reduce the ignition in their homes. So we're going to talk about hazard reduction, home ignitions zones, defensible space, and so on. And so it's supposed to take more action at the local level because we need to take private ownership of our footprint in the forest and in the wildland areas. And so by doing that, if we're prepared, our communities are prepared, and then the fire departments are better able to defend and protect us. All right. So it is a voluntary community-oriented program. Like I said, it is not regulatory. It is not enforced. There is no oversight to it. It is community-driven. It is resident-driven. So we are just here. Kern County Fire, CAL FIRE, and myself are just here to support and to give expertise or input or help with technicalities or filling out paperwork and so on. And so with that, it is all driven by you guys, but we're just here to help support you guys in becoming educated and prepared. So the Kern Fire Safe Council and the Kern Fire Department are here as a resource. Like I said, I'm going to keep reiterating, it's not an enforcement thing because I want you guys to understand I'm taking personal ownership for it. So we're here to answer those questions for you guys. So here's a quick flow chart. And so NFPA has the FireWise program up at the top, right? They are the ones leading the drive on this. Now CAL FIRE is taking an active supportive approach in delivering this out and helping support this program. And then you have the Regional FireWise Coordinator, which Kern County hasn't designated anyone yet. They're working on it. And so then you have the Kern Fire Safe Council and Kern County Fire Department. Now we're here to support and offer insight and, like I said, that expertise, but it's all going to come down to the resident community leader. So that resident community leader I'll get into in a second is the one that would have point of contact in reaching out to us. So if we have a streamline of flow of information going to and from the different agencies, everything will be consistent and everything will be direct. So. So the benefits, all right, it identifies potential projects, whether it's from the homeowner and things that they can do around their home, whether it's the community. And when I reference community, I'm going to talk about it could be just your neighborhood. It's not Pine Mountain Club as a whole. It may be just your neighborhood. So when Firewise refers to a community, it is the community of neighbors that designate a mapping distinctive area for it. So it's not the whole Pine Mountain Club. It might be just a few streets, or it might be a subdivision, or so on. So it helps firefighting efforts. So if the homes are better prepared for wildfire, if the defensible space is done, if the home ignition zones are taken care of, and the community is working together, and they've done all of the things in their neighborhood to make it fire safe, it makes it a lot easier for them to come in and protect the community as a whole. It's really important to explain to residents, they're here doing their job the best that they can, but they're not going to be sitting at your doorstep. There's not the ability for them to be sitting at every homeowner's protecting you guys. They will be protecting the community. They will be assessing assets. They will be assessing roads. They will be assessing all those things and determining it. So the better the homeowners are prepared, the better the communities are prepared, the better that they can protect the community. So it increases community awareness and relationships. Like I said, it brings back the sense of community and everybody working together, and then it has everybody aware of the situations around them. So the benefits of being Firewise is the assessment in part of the Firewise program helps you identify. So if it's working with us, working with your neighbors, or working with Kern County Fire Department, that we work together to say that these might be the risks for your community. Because as we look at our home, we may not see that ridge line. We may not see the neighbor down the way. We may not see that empty lot. We may not see the road or something like that. So it really gives a comprehensive area assessment for everyone. So it improves awareness of the safety issues and best practices, right? So you're going to address like ingress, egress, coming in, coming out, how you're going to do your evacuation plans, how you're going to educate your community members, and so on. And so public education is emphasized. Part of the Firewise program is leading educational type meetings or workshops for your community. And that might be, depending upon the size of your community, it may just be a get together at someone's home, or it may be a situation like this, depending upon the community. George. All right, so it demonstrates a commitment to the insurance carriers. So with that, NFPA is working with insurance agencies on identifying ways to show that homeowners are taking seriously to be prepared for wildfire. And so with that, if you are a recognized Firewise community, some insurance agencies are offering reduction in your annual premiums. Okay, there's no guarantee, there's no percentage, there's nothing like that. But there are insurance agencies, and I have a list that I can talk to you about afterwards, that are recognizing that if you are a Firewise community, there is a reduction in your insurance. So you will have to talk to your provider, or I can give you a link to some as well. Okay, so I think it seems to be a really daunting process to people when they look it up on the website, but there's really only 4 things that you have to do. Those 4 things do take time, they do take work, and they do take efforts, but they are pretty simple and basic if they're done thoroughly and effectively and slowly together. So you're going to organize. Now I referred to the community. A community is 8 residences or buildings or properties up to 2,500. So if you have 8 neighbors that want to get together and build a sense of community or a Firewise community, you could do that. It could be a street, it could be a neighborhood, it could be a subdivision, or so on. The maximum is 2,500. My personal opinion is you don't want to be so small that it's not effective, but you don't want to be so large that your span of control is really hard. Because when you're, especially the Pine Mountain Club, we presented in Bear Valley, you know, they're 2,800 homes. So for someone in this neighborhood here to have a plan for someone over there is really difficult when it's a few miles away. So if it's an appropriate size community, then you guys can work collectively together. Maybe it's a ridge line, maybe it's streets, maybe it's you know, how the houses are put together and stuff like that. So coming up with an effective map of an area and then working that way. So it must be contiguous, and you want to avoid checkerboarding. Now, checkerboarding is like houses like every other street, or I don't like my neighbor, so we won't include him, or something like that. You need to look for a comprehensive area, and you need to make sure that it's collective. Now, you can make a map of an area and call it a Firewise community without everyone in that mapping area being a member. Okay, so there's a couple of things. Like, they may not be on board yet, but when they do, you don't want to start the whole application process over. You don't want to start the refiling completely over. So it's really important that when you do the mapping and you put it all together, that it's comprehensive. And then you want to make sure it's effective. Yes, they may come on board, but still you're looking at your sense of community and you're looking at your neighborhood, because if you're not considering your neighbor or you're not considering one street down, it may be completely ineffective for you guys to do everything in your houses or in your homes and in your street if you're not including one next door. Right? Because the fire can just keep going. It can just, jump through or go through. So you're going to establish a community boundary and create a map. And then you want to form a committee. Now, I put 5 on there. You can have less or more, but as far as like span of control, 5 is like the best area, right? Because you can separate out all of the responsibilities and the things that need to get done, and it's not left to one person, but yet it's still manageable. And so as you see, you have a map of this neighborhood. This is actually in Ventura. They've included this whole block, right? So even if these neighbors don't want to participate, they've still included that because their plan is to include the block because of where it's located, and they want to work collectively together. So your second step is to plan it. So you're going to do a wildfire risk assessment in consultation with Kern County Fire. So if you have questions on filling it out, they are supportive for you guys to come out and help you do it. They're not going to do the process for you because, again, this is for the community members to do. They're here to be the resident experts on the area, topography, right, fire history, and stuff like that. So, and then you're going to create a three-year action plan. That action plan you guys will put together and establish things that your community can do progressively to be more ready for wildfire. So the next thing is you're going to do it. Right, so you're going to host a community event and you're going to work with your neighbors on addressing the action plan. So once that action plan is in place, now we're going to put it in play, right? What are we doing for the first quarter of this year? What are we doing for the summer? What are we doing for the fall? And so on. And so you as a community will put that together. So you're going to collectively commit to 1 volunteer hour per resident in wildfire reduction actions. So if you guys think of how many hours you guys are cleaning your areas every year, how much reduction or hazard reduction, how much weeds, how much tree clearing, how much all of that stuff, you're doing well over an hour a year, right? So that's a completely reachable, manageable goal. And your hours are collective as a community. So if you have 13 houses, we know 13 hours are going in there, right? So it's a collective. It's not an individual type of thing. You will have to record it, and you will have to give documentation of it. And so you're going to have to do vegetation removal. Now, there's a calculation on the website that will help you calculate that and how much that you've reduced so that you can report that back to NFPA. And then you're going to apply. So when you apply it, you're going to submit the application to the Firewise portal. And so you guys will submit it. You don't turn it into us. You don't turn it into Kern County Fire. You submit it on the Firewise portal. And the Firewise portal is with the NFPA. And so you'll go straight to them. So the wildfire risk assessment, it identifies your strengths and weaknesses. You guys are doing efforts in your neighborhoods. You're here, so that means that you care about it. So you're probably doing things at home and you're trying to address those things. So you're going to identify that. And then you're going to identify your weaknesses. And now your weaknesses will help you do your action plan, because that's going to help you guys figure out what you want to do going forward. And then if you need help, you would consult with Kern County Fire to do the risk assessment of your community. So the risk assessment has these 7 components. Now I'll show them to you. Don't be overwhelmed or think that it's a lot, because it's really not, okay? You're going to do who the committee is, right? I said 5, but you could have a couple or you could have more. You want to make sure that your span of control is good and stuff like that. Give information about your community, wildfire characteristics, your observations, the zone descriptions, the summary, and the recommendations. Those recommendations are what you come up with, and if it's us or Kern County Fire giving some input, but it's what you guys come up with because it's going to be part of your action plan. George. So when I say wildfire characteristics, you're basically going to talk about your vegetation types, the topography, the wind, and the history. That is all you have to do for category number 1. Okay, so it's not some big laborious thing. So next, Observations, you're going to talk about roofing materials, your soffit vents. You're going to talk about siding, roofing, okay? So you're just going to describe the general characteristics of the homes in your community. Okay, next. Then you're going to talk about your zone descriptions. So this is an example, 5 to 30 feet. You're going to answer these questions. Are fuel breaks such as driveways, walkways, patios, and decks? Do you guys have those, right? How many homes have them? How many don't have them? And then you're going to go on a percentage level for these 6 criteria. Okay. The risk assessment summary. You're going to go through and you're going to look at wildfire characteristics, observations, and zone descriptions. And again, that's where Kern County Fire or Kern Fire Safe can help you guys in filling that stuff out. And you're going to go in and you want to make sure that you include the 11 characteristics that are listed on the previous slide. Okay, so next. Then you're going to do a risk assessment, right? So they are based upon your observations and your assessment. So from that, you're going to create the risk assessment. That risk assessment will help you guys develop your plan, right? What are those weaknesses? What are the things that we need to work on? What are the things that we need to address? What can we improve on, right? Okay. So you'll complete a boundary map, and we can help you with that if you don't know how to create a boundary map. It does not have to be some fancy tech computer thing. It can be lines around your community and an overhead of Google Map, okay? So then you're going to create your 3-year action plan. So you're going to say, and you're going to create goals that are obtainable for you. They're not what's expected of us, or that it's not something that we're going to impose. It's going to be things that you believe that you can do over the next 3 years as a community to be progressively working on your community. So you have education and outreach, home hardening, right? Home hardening is preparing your home and the area around it to make sure that it's prepared, right? And then you go into defensible space, which is again the land around your property, and then your evacuation planning. So you're going to do a multi-year plan to address your community. Okay, the 3-year action plan continued is you're going to say in year 1 we'll meet these goals, right? Then you'll do one for year 2 and year 3. Make sure that they're obtainable. Make sure that things that you can do, and so on. So you will go on to this portal. You will go in and you will get started. You'll log in and create an account. Whoever your leader of your committee is will go on and create the account. They will go in there and they will upload and they will fill out all of this information on there. So the average time to complete is 6 to 9 months. Okay, if you guys are aggressively, actively working on it, you can do it in 6 to 9 months. Some are quicker, some are longer. It just depends when you submit it. If an NFPA sends it back and needs modifications or needs more information, or it's not, or there's some clarification needed, and so on. So plan bigger on just your street. Like I said, you want to make sure that it's comprehensive and that it's good for your community, because it's no good if it's not effective, right? With the best of intentions, if it's not collective and it's not including everybody, it could be a problem. So if a resident in the community boundary is not participating in the program, they will not receive recognition. So you have that neighbor who doesn't want to participate. Fine. Don't exclude them from your mapping or anything like that. Your resident community leader will have the recognition paperwork that you guys provide to your insurance, or that you provide saying that you're a part of it. If they are in the boundary but not participating, they don't receive that. They don't receive the recognition, they don't receive the paperwork or anything like that. So they can't receive any of the benefits of being a Firewise community. Of course, they're going to be, safer because you guys are doing your job, but they're not going to be receiving any of that recognition. If down the road that neighbor then wants to start participating, then they get with the community leader, do what they need to get on board with the team to be a part of it. And then the committee decides that they get the recognition. So, it's meant to foster community engagement, okay? It's meant to get you guys involved with each other and communicating and having you take an active part in your home and your neighborhood. So, next. So, will this pull up? It didn't pull up last time. Okay. We can't hear it.
Recording on YouTube as well.
Oh, so YouTube to YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, so this presentation will be available on our YouTube page and our website later if you'd like to go for it. And it talks about homes that have proper siding, homes that are cleared around them with their ignition zones, and then also doing their defensible space. So I would like you to go back to this later. So here you have a wood-sided side, and then you have the hard siding. And so what they do is they put fire embers next to it, and you can see how quickly one side of the home ignites while the other does not. You want to go forward just a little bit? So take a look at it because it really applies here. I think Pine Mountain Club is beautiful, but if I walk around, I see, or I drive around, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of work to be done, right? It's gorgeous. I love it. I come from a rural community in the mountains and the trees, and I love it. But I also like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of problems and a lot of things that need to be addressed. So please check this out. So you can cancel it. Okay. So again, I will have some websites up. Here are some QR codes that will link to it. It'll be on our webpage, and it'll also be on YouTube that you can go back to, and you can see what you can do as far as home hardening and defensible space on your properties, and then doing the FireWise program. So all of the links will link you to each step of the NFPA's FireWise program, so it will help you do that. Again, I'm here as a resource. Kern County Fire is here to help with those risk assessments for your community, and we're here to answer questions for you. So, Sean, are you available?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that was a good overview of the program. I know you guys will have questions once you start the process, but don't feel overwhelmed because that's why we're here as a resource to get you through it.
Okay. Thank you. Chief Kinnison? No?
I'm with Sean.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
What happens
10.
after 3 years?
You're going to renew.
You renew?
You renew. So after good question. After 3 years, you will renew, and you'll just keep doing it to keep the recognition. Yes.
So clarification on that.
Yeah.
So you speak of the documents that you have to fill out. You have the risk assessment, which is valid for 5 years. So after that 5 years, the risk assessment needs to be completed again. The 3-year action plan is valid for 3 years. Every year you have to renew. And the renewal process is just basically making sure that you complete your risk reduction hours, your public education, and your vegetation removal. It's just oversight to make sure that you guys are actively protecting your communities. So the renewal period is the end of November. So don't feel overwhelmed. Again, the hardest part is the initial process that you start in becoming FireWise recognized. The renewal process is simplified. It's all through the portal. Us as CAL FIRE are the oversight of applications of new and renewal. So again, we're a resource to get you guys through this process.
And I would also add for the education, Kern Fire Safe Council, we have webinars quarterly, a lot of the different CAL FIRE, NFPA, there's a lot of different things that are out there that you guys can watch or bring to your community to address that one. Chief Kinnison, you're good? Yep. All right. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Do the community boundaries overlap?
No. The community boundaries cannot overlap, correct?
No, it kind of defeats the purpose of being all-inclusive. They shouldn't overlap because one polygon should be just that community. I know parcels are bigger depending on the community that you're in, but it should be inclusive of that specific community. If they're neighboring, they should be separate.
Yes.
So the structure would be, PMC would have a suggested committee of 5, and then we would have community groups that do their individual neighborhoods.
Are you talking as far as like your emergency committee that you guys have?
The structure of FireWise, like you referred to a committee of 5,
Uh-huh.
would that be a part of an existing committee, or would that be a separate committee that is stood up within the PMC community?
It would be a separate community within the community of Pine Mountain Club. Yeah.
And then the individual communities that are gonna make their little lines around their neighborhoods, that's under the committee structure, correct?
No, they're all independent of themselves. So
So they're all gonna submit their own, they're not gonna go to the committee and have the committee submit for them. Each neighborhood will run and submit their own applications.
correct. Ideally, there would be some conversation within the Pine Mountain Club community of how to separate and map that out, or what is best. And maybe that's where we talk with Kern County on a little bit of like what would be best for the area. But as far as who does it and who oversees it is the independent communities or neighborhoods themselves.
So there might be 100 here, 25.
Correct.
200, 50. All of those will deal with Firewise USA individually as a little community, but then we would have an umbrella committee kind of overseeing and
There would be no umbrella committee overseeing
makes
those
up the committee of, that was suggested as the committee of 5.
within that individual neighborhood. Within that neighborhood, there wouldn't be Pine Mountain Club having an umbrella committee. It would be within that neighborhood itself. Yeah. Yes, Peg.
Just so you're, a community could be, say, the mobiles. That whole section could be one Firewise community. So that one Firewise community would pick their committee
Okay.
Yeah.
to overlook their community. And so another community might be Lower Nestor, that all those homes in there, they could be their own Firewise community, and they would have their own separate committee.
And though communicating, the committees kind of operate autonomously.
They are
within-
independent of each other.
Yeah.
So those committees, whoever's in charge of that committee is going to be communicating directly with the NFPA, with the Firewise program, and through CAL FIRE. Isn't that correct, Sean?
So if I could interject, just one question, how big is Pine Mountain Club, just so I can get my head around it?
We have
How many-
2,600 homes.
20. Yeah, it's about 2,800.
It's probably about
2,800. Okay, so, the committee that you form, or the board, can have dual roles, essentially. So you could have familiar members on each committee, but every individual Firewise community that you create has to have one resident leader that resides in that community. The shared duties of the board can go across multiple communities. It doesn't have to be, if you're stuck on the number 5 for each committee, it doesn't have to be 5 separate people for each one. But that resident leader of each community has to reside in the designated community, if that makes sense. So you can have shared roles and shared committee members. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. If the bigger it is, the harder you're going to lose traction, or you're going to have a bigger span of control, addressing the needs of your neighborhood and stuff like that. I don't suggest staying low at 8 or something like that, but if you do 2,500 under one plan, it's going to be pretty cumbersome. Yeah, so, yes.
Applying what you were mentioning, Peggy, and you as well, Brad. I'm in a neighborhood and we have a neighborhood watch. And we have the lists of everybody and the contact information and stuff. Then essentially we just need to go ahead and say, hey, let's add Firewise into our neighborhood watchfulness, if you will, and we just go right into the portal and then just set up with you guys directly.
You would set it up with NFPA. So the portal goes straight to NFPA. But the idea of taking your neighborhood neighborhood watch and using that communication system and those relationships to go forward into this, I think is a good idea. Yeah.
When you said like 8 homes, I have a flag lot, and I don't have a lot of homes around me. I got empty lots, and I'm on one street, and the next street is above me, so I have like 2 neighbors that are within a vicinity. So when you're saying 8 homes, it's we have all the way down the block.
That's okay. You could go down. It's not a distance thing. So if you're, 5 acres, 7 acres, it's just creating a contiguous area.
And how much is this?
There isn't a cost.
There isn't a cost.
I should put that at the beginning. There's no cost. The cost is the time and the effort that you're putting in on your neighborhood. Yeah.
Let's say you have a fire council, or you call it, say 20 homes, and you apply for this, and then only 6 homeowners participate. Is there some percentage of homes that have to participate, or when does failure become a problem?
It's not about the amount of homes. It's about the amount of effort and time that's put into it. So that comes through the vegetation removal, the hours of work created on the land, and then the education part. Yeah. Correct, Sean, on that one?
Yeah, correct. So as long as you're meeting those obligations, there's no failure. You could have 20 homes and only one person participating, essentially, just to consider that. And if that one person is doing the 20 hours and vegetation removal and a public education event, then they meet the criteria to renew. The thing about the risk reduction hours, it's 1 hour per dwelling per year. So if you're an elderly individual, or if you say it's a second home or something and you pay a landscaper, the payment to the landscaper qualifies for your risk reduction hours, because they equate that to $29.99, and it's just a national average of volunteer hours. So if you submit your receipts for your landscaper, then that qualifies for your risk reduction hours also.
Is that 20 hours you said for?
It's 1 hour per dwelling in the boundary, the map boundary, per year. So if there's 10 homes, it's 10 hours. If there's 20, it's 20. If there's 2,500, there's 2,500. Now with that, and that's another thing, you're going to have to keep track of that. So the larger the community is, the harder on trying to track that stuff.
Or
And,
whatever you set up within the
correct.
boundaries of your own.
Yeah, and that resident community leader will be the one working on keeping track of that with you guys.
Can you talk about the benefits of being in a Firewise community, but also that just because you're not living within that boundary, if you're not participating, you don't have the certificate to present to your insurance company.
You mean if you're living in the boundary?
If you're living in
Yes.
the boundary and don't participate,
Correct.
you don't get the benefits.
Correct. So if you are in the boundary, like you had mentioned, somebody doesn't want to, they don't receive the recognition. They don't receive something to turn into their insurance carriers. They don't receive any of the benefits of it. They're not part of the education program. They're not part of the collective or stuff like that. You will have people that may not want to participate. That's just the reality of it. But the idea is taking ownership in yourself and your community and working with the people that want to, because eventually it's going to come back. They're going to hear that there's positive benefits. They're going to hear that there's stuff coming back from it, that they'll eventually start doing what they need to, hopefully. Yeah. Who else?
8 houses is what it is, or 5? Or
8 is the minimum. Yeah. Yes.
If there's, in our neighborhood, we have people that are renting, does it have to go to the owner of the property or the renters of the property?
It is the owner of the property. Yeah.
Wendy, can you repeat the questions?
Oh, repeat. Now that I'm, yeah. So the question was, is it the homeowner or the renter? And the question is, it's the homeowner. What else? Anything? Okay. Our website will have this PowerPoint and have this presentation will be on our YouTube channel. My contact information is on there. We also have information over there from Firewise, from the NFPA program, and then contact. Yes, Peg.
I was wondering if Chief Tennyson could talk about what's possibly coming down, what's being talked about with insurance companies and new possible regulations of
Stay on the line.
Yeah.
Try not to trip. Yeah. No. Thanks, Peggy. So what she's asking about is basically what's the future hold. So, Wendy spoke about insurance, and that's at the forefront of everybody's mind. Unfortunately, there's no clear saying if you do this, you will get this yet. We are seeing discounts happening, so that's one thing we can say. But what you have is a whole lot of investment in research that is yielding results. So for example, the new building standards, Chapter 7A in the state, those homes, we don't lose those homes during wildfires like we lose classic homes. Okay, so what you saw from IBHS, that research they were doing there was proving the zone zero, which is a new concept, right? So that's the first 5 feet from the dwelling. And the one thing, if you noticed it, if you caught it in the video, is the embers lit the bark on fire first. And it's the bark that then transitioned the fire to the home. And so something that simple. So where am I going with that? Programs like FireWise are going to help you get ready so that when results come down from the state level saying, FireWise communities can get policies cut again or get discounts. You're already FireWise. Plus the benefit of being safer, obviously, is a good one. So.
Did you guys say that you can help define what is the logical boundary for a small community? Because I live like
Absolutely.
in the vein of the mountains.
Yeah.
I'm midway up. And so I know that all the homes below me at a certain level are obviously going to contribute to the demise of my home.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, did they offer that, like a service to say this would be your ideal group for
Right.
this thing?
Great question. So the question is, can we help define the boundaries? Absolutely. We actually recently just partnered with Genesis Connect, which is, you can find that on their website. And what that is that's an evacuation program. So we pre-designated throughout the whole county different zones that we will launch an evacuation warning or order for that zone. And the way we did those boundaries, we did geography, we did more than 2 egress points. There's several things we did. So we have that resource available. Anybody can see those. Or if the FireWise board reaches out to the fire department, we can definitely put a map down. Because one of the first things, you're going to have to decide is how big do we want to make it or how small do we want to make it. And sometimes, streets or geographic boundaries such as a ridge line or a creek drainage could be good cutoffs. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. I'll give it back before I trip on the wire.
Okay, again, it's on our website, our YouTube channel. There's contact information out there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to engage with you, and I do have an outreach assistant that is helping with the paperwork. So if there's questions on the application and stuff like that, we're here. And like Chief Kennison said, on boundaries and areas like that, he's a resource as well. So thank you for coming, especially in the storm, and I will see you around. Thank you.